Hey guys, we are here for Social 545 and we're here with Roberto Blake, and there is a bonus question that I think a lot of people have asked themselves, because I know I have asked myself. And the question is, Roberto, so many people always make the excuse of, I don't want to create a YouTube channel because I feel like the market is too saturated. There's already people doing videos about marketing. There's already people doing videos about cooking and how to bake that cupcake that you're looking for. And what is your answer to them, right? Because although YouTube has a very large community, the amount of content creators that are creating quality content may not be the exact same ratio, right?
So I would say a couple of things to those people. Historically, every market has always been saturated with very few exceptions. And there's always been room for disruption. The market was saturated already when everybody that is a famous photographer today or Olympic sports photographer or shooter, guess what? The market was saturated when they came in. There was already a million people doing that. There was already a million guys and gals running around with cameras. When every filmmaker got their start, there were already not a million, but there was already like 100 Academy Award winning like filmmakers and everything like that. Oh, this Tarantino kid doesn't know anything, right? So there's always that challenge. And so that saturation is the filter for those who are not ready to hustle. And it's also interesting because you can say the market's saturated, but that doesn't mean it's saturated with quality. The market can be saturated with crap. And, that it probably is, true. To be frank, it probably is. There are probably no less than 50 different camera makers, believe it or not. But you know what are the three that everyone's talking about right now? Nikon, Canon, and Sony. Mm-hmm. But there are also people who can't afford those that are talking about Olympus and Fuji and Pentax. Okay. And even Panasonic is getting into the 4K video game now, where a lot of them are not. So it's then nuance. If you care about 4K video, you can't even talk to like Canon and Nikon for the most part, not as a regular consumer. So you might go with Panasonic, which is not a small name brand. They just lost some, traction with the everyday person. My point is not to talk about cameras and tech, but to point out that there's always that challenge in business. There's always that challenge in marketing. Every show that's a hit breakout show was an upstart with no credibility. Every actor that's a no-name actor was up against Emmy Award winners. Everyone starts at zero, just like our friend Gary Vaynerchuk talks about. But I'll put that into even more context. 2 years ago, none of you knew who the heck I was. 2 years ago, period. If you weren't on my graphic design blog, you didn't know I knew about social media. You didn't know that I knew about writing. You didn't know that I knew about video production and editing. You didn't know that I even knew about some of the other things that I've shown off in terms of motion graphics or even animation. You had no idea until you did. And even so, there was already great people out there doing content throughout that. When I did Photoshop tutorials, Howard Pinsky already had 100,000 YouTube subscribers and already done maybe 300 tutorials at the time. Terry White, a good friend of mine now who actually works for Adobe, he's an Adobe product evangelist. He was already doing tutorials as well. That market was already saturated with superstars, and I still made a niche and got content out there that people have watched. There was already probably like 100 videos on how to get started in video editing with Premiere Pro. Today, I have a video on Premiere Pro color grading that I put out 2 years ago at pretty much the beginning of my content. I don't even think I had 5,000 subscribers when I put that video out, and it has over 120,000 views today. But before it ever had those amount of views, it was still one of the top videos in YouTube because people were watching it. They were spending time. So if you're going to care about views and subscriber numbers and vanity metrics, I would tell you that the only value that matters is the time that an actual human being is going to spend watching your content. Mm-hmm. That's the number that I measure. The number I'm most proud of is not my 65,000 subscribers, is not my 4 million views. It is the 1 million minutes a month of watch time, a number that nobody sees because they're not in my analytics dashboard unless I tell them about it. 1 million minutes a month, 2 years of human beings' time every month of watch time is being spent consuming my content. That is my valuation to know that I did a good job, was that human beings gave me that time out of their day, their week, their month. 2 years of a human lifespan is what I'm pulling in every single month now. So
Yeah.
that's the valuation. More importantly, there are people who, whoever you are, that might look like you or sound like you or had your situation or circumstances in life that want to be that much further in their journey where you are, or have the same journey that you're having right now. And they need to either look to you as a role model or education or as a success story that they can take back and say, you know what, I can do it too, or me too. There's somebody out there that is being underserved in that way. So when you say this market is saturated, really think about the fact that there's 7 billion people on the planet. Of course it's saturated. That doesn't mean that everyone is being served with quality that they're looking for, and that by like talking yourself out of it, you're robbing people that are underserved of the value that you can create in their life, because no one's going to do it the way that you're going to do it. You're authentic.
To make the connection back to sports, right now, there's a kid somewhere in America or in the world who's in a gym because he aspires to be better than Jordan, better than LeBron. You know, you always hear about the next Jordan, the next Kobe, the next LeBron. How about the next Zuckerberg, right? You talked about Gary Vee a lot. What about those people out there that are willing to work and put in the practice and the hustle and the sweat equity that much more? So the way I look at YouTube, just from having a presence on here for the last couple of years, and granted, I don't have the presence that you have, Roberto, but it's really taking what makes you unique and putting it out there, because let's face it, there's not another Roberto Blake. There's not another Saba or Carlos out there. There's people that are doing the activity. And I'll be the first person to say this. Anyone can go to the dance, right? But are you willing to work that much harder than the next guy or girl? And I think that is what sets you apart. And in your case, being featured by Forbes, having over 65,000 subscribers, the watch time in the millions that you have, that is a byproduct of the work and the time that you've put in.
Yeah. And the one thing I want to end with, sorry, Roberto, one thing is Gary always says the attention graph, right? And the importance of having people's attention. And on top of what you said is the fact that everyone has to embrace really who they are as a person, right? Everyone's perspective. Roberto, you have a different perspective that you bring to graphic design and the way that you tell people how to grow their subscribers because of your experience and your sort of journey that you've gone through. And it's the same thing with me, right? The live streaming journey that I have gone through might be different than the other person. And so I think if we all think about ourselves as someone unique, I mean, there's that corny quote that people say is, you know, be yourself because everyone else is taken. It's really about embracing who you are and the journey that you've gone through. And all of those little experiences and all those little things that you think about are going to come through in your videos. And that's why that person is going to watch you and someone else, perhaps, right? Because they understand that. And so I think that was a really important thing that we touched on in terms of saturation of the market. And that's something that, I mean, we all worry about, and not just on YouTube as a platform, but on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, every social network, because there is an influx of people. And how do you rise to the top, right? How do you make sure that you are seen? It's if you really embrace the different I guess, characteristics that you bring to the table, because there's someone else that can relate to that small thing, right?
Exactly right. And, you know, I mean, I think like, you know, Kim Garst's book, Will the Real You Still Please Stand Up, is actually a really good book for people to read who might be struggling with that. Obviously, in addition, I would encourage them to get my free ebook, the mini guide, The 7 Points of Personal Branding, by signing up for the Create Awesome Community newsletter at robertoblake.com/newsletter. And I say that because it's a 7-point system that's super concise that helped me find my authenticity and be consistent at that, not just in my execution of my work, but philosophically always look at whether my actions are lining up with the results that I'm saying that I want. And I think that that's a key. Just like you said, it's a byproduct of the work. It's not that I have 65,000 plus subscribers in YouTube, and so of course I'm going to get more YouTube subscribers after that. It's that I did the process of the work that led to 65,000 subscribers. As a result of that work, of course I will continue to get more based on the work that I put in. Of course, if you climb a mountain to get to the view, you not only enjoyed the view, but you got the muscles and you've endured the pain. And of course, mountain climbing is now easy. Some Jack or Jill flies to the top in a helicopter. They got the same view. They got the same picture and selfie that you did, but they didn't earn the power that you got through the journey and the climb. So when Gary talks about the climb, when I talk about the climb, when any of us talk about the climb, because we do that a lot in marketing, I think that the nuance that's missed is that the reason the journey matters is because of the experiences that it takes to get there. And if you cheat yourself out of that to only get the result, we talk about results mattering, but the journey matters more. And that's not romantic. That is pragmatic. You and I, Carlos, we played sports. I'm not sure if you did or not, Saba, but you know daggone well that having the trophy without having the work and the sweat and the gains and the equity and being part of a team and everything it took to get there would be completely meaningless. The optics are nice, but then when you actually have to then show up and prove it, you're in trouble now because you just have a trophy that you bought in a pawn shop instead of earned. It's better to earn the bronze than to buy the gold.
Yeah, I played volleyball actually in high school. I really enjoyed it, especially because it was a team sport. And I think team sports are so much better than individual sports because it actually mirrors real life situations, right? No one works in a vacuum. Even the solo entrepreneurs who say, you know, I made it. I mean, everyone helped you make it, right?
Absolutely.
Every one of my
so Roberto, we appreciate you. We appreciate you dropping your knowledge on us and your real talk. I'm going to go ahead and close this out on this note. Anyone today can go ahead and buy followers. Anyone can fake fame, but you can't fake putting in the work and driving results. That is real talk. So Roberto, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and drop a link to the podcast, the full episode on iTunes. And thank you for joining us on Social 545.
Thank you for